Hello YouTube! Chisa right now is in the most awkward situation a character has ever been since the very launch of the game. I spent the last days testing her with different teams in different endgame modes, so let's just talk straight facts. She's a general support for a mechanic that Kuro pretty much left out to dry for months. Element-specific debuffs were announced at the very start of 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗵𝘁, and for the past 6 months we got what? Just 2 teams that even use this mechanic. Aero Erosion through 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗵𝘁 and the 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗆 team, and Spectrofrazzle through 𝗖cie and 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵. And the biggest issue is that Chisa is not that big of an improvement for these teams either. For the Aero Erosion team, she competes with Irover, a completely free character. You can get him at sequence 6 for free. I have him at sequence 5, does not really matter, just damage increase for him. But most important of all, his freaking 5-star weapon. This one is given for absolutely free, increasing aero damage by 26%. And you have Chisa's signature, which increases attribute by 24%, which is inferior to Irover's weapon. Now, to be fair, Chisa is a lot more general than Irover. Irover is only gonna work on aero teams and with aero erosion. Chisa is gonna work with pretty much all the debuffs outside of, let's say, 𝗖𝗍𝗍𝗆𝗵𝘁, and this all attribute damage bonus is also a reflection of that. She can be paired with other attribute characters. However, at this point in time, we simply do not have the roster for that kind of flexibility, so you will not be able to tell these disadvantages of Irover just yet. I took her for testing in Tower of Adversity and Whimpering Waves against Rover, and the time and score were almost identical. In Tower I was looking at a 3-second faster clear with Chisa, and in Whimpering Waves the difference was within 100 points. I'm gonna say this though, as far as gameplay quality goes, she felt miles better to use than Irover, especially in Whimpering Waves. I have wasted so many hours before just restarting the runs because Irover will simply just throw an enemy away from 𝗖𝗍𝗆𝗵𝘁 and make me chase him. But as far as contribution to the team goes, Chisa with her signature is just a very slight improvement over Irover, who once again completely free, weapon completely free. And on the second team with 𝗖cie and 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵, things are even more bleak. 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵 does apply debuffs, she applies Spectrofrazzle, however 𝗖cie is completely anti-synergy with Chisa. First of all, she transforms Spectrofrazzle stacks in Helix, which is a different debuff. In other words, the 3 stack limit increase of Chisa does not do anything here. Instead of having a limit of 13 Spectrofrazzle stacks, it's pretty much just wasted. On top of that, 𝗖cie herself does not have debuffs. She does technically apply Helix, but is not actually applying a debuff, is more like transforming one form of debuff in the other, so it does not count. In other words, Chisa's signature cannot be triggered. At max stacks, when resonators in a team inflict negative status, she increases all attribute damage bonus. Initially, I believe this is team-wide, like if 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵 triggered it, 𝗖cie would also get this buff for 15 seconds, so as long as the rotation will be short enough, it will not matter. However, the buff is actually individual. If 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵 triggers it, it will only buff 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵, not 𝗖cie, which really sucks. When pitting Chisa against Shorekeeper with this team, in Whimpering Waves was a complete and utter fiasco. You would look at a 1000 point difference between running with Shorekeeper and running with Chisa. In Tower of Adversity, the situation is much better. Shorekeeper still wins, but not by a landslide. The difference is of like 4 seconds, and that's actually amazing. Having a character that can replace Shorekeeper on pretty much every single team, at least in Tower of Adversity, at the price of only 4 seconds is amazing. And you have to remember that Chisa also has debuffs in her kit, which enables her and her team to take advantage of buffs in Tower of Adversity that you'll not be able to get with Shorekeeper. I also tried her with Augusta, and since she has some shield synergy with, not much, but it is, and Augusta can buff her damage with her outro. Unfortunately, this team has no way at all to apply debuffs, which means that Chisa's signature is completely useless as far as buffs go, and when competing against Shorekeeper in Tower of Adversity with her own signature, she lost by about 7 seconds. As for Whimpering Waste, the result was about the same as in the case of the Zani Phoebe team. Right now she does not improve any teams outside of Cartetia's, and that is if you are willing to go for her signature. Signature that only buffs 4 characters in the entire game at this point, with one of them being Chisa herself. Right now she is literally at her weakest point possible. In the near future with the Academia release, Irover will get a new form and then Chisa will be there to pick up Cartetia's team, and of course every new debuff character is gonna improve her value. This is inevitable. Even the people that argue for skipping her have to agree with this. At some point you probably most likely will have to pull for her regardless. The only thing is, why not pull for her on her rerun? I mean, how long we gonna have to wait for the moment when Kuro releases more debuff characters? It could be just the next patch in 3.0, maybe in 3.1, but let's not forget, Jinshi was released in version 1.1 and we are right now in version 2.8 and Kuro still did not release her dedicated support. How long it took for Changli to get her team? So we don't know, we are at the mercy of Kuro. At the end of the day, this is the clearest case of pulling for a character if you like her. Because if you are going for meta, she at some point is gonna be meta. If you want to play her, if you enjoy her gameplay, yeah, in the long run, she is gonna prove her worth. With that being said, I hope this video proved you all helpful to put some worries to rest or just confirm some suspicions. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Good luck with your pulls and bye for now.